It's time for the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment, and this guy here, man, he's no stranger to big moments. And Elijah Spencer, being part of the Gopher football program the last couple of years, you guys know, man, as a former receiver, I love to catch up with receivers, and Elijah's just another great one. And I've done the PJ Fleck show for the last, ever since PJ Fleck got here, and I always forget how many years he's been here because it was year 0 when we started, and now I don't even know, year 8, year 9. But I've watched a lot of receivers come through these buildings: Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson, Eric Decker, Daniel Jackson, and now Elijah Spencer as well with Daniel Jackson. I want to thank Daniel Jackson for joining me on the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment, the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Elijah, question for you, man. When you were at Minnesota, or you had to choose Minnesota, why Minnesota?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I wanted to have a different experience than what I'm used to. Growing up, it was only Irmo, South Carolina. I never traveled anywhere outside of Irmo, South Carolina. And then, as you know, initially out of high school, I went to go play at the University of Charlotte, which is, only an hour and a half away from my hometown. Yeah. So I just stayed there in the Carolinas. So I wanted to have a new experience, see something different, but also make sure that I was in a spot that was right for me, on the field and off the field. And I think that Minnesota checked all those boxes.
Yeah, man, because you transferred in. And, when you get a transfer, especially as had experience in college football, right away you're expecting lightning in a bottle. And I'm pretty sure you're aware of that. Like, coaches get guys in and they're like, look, I need you to come in and be an impact player. And, same with Christian Driver, Donald Driver's son. A lot of people expected instant impact. You got to come in and really make a splash. And for you, out the gate, it wasn't exactly what you thought, whether it was a couple drop balls here and there, whether it was if this is a choice route or I ran the wrong route versus coverage, but you stuck through it, man. Like, you didn't hit the button where it's like, oh, I'm gonna just transfer somewhere else. I don't feel like they're showcasing my talent, man. And it took some time, but as the season went on, you became more and more reliable this year. And then you had a big bowl game. So talk about that, man. Talk about persevering from one year to the next and like really sticking to it and just saying, I got to trust what this coaching staff is doing. I got to trust my own ability because I know I can do it. And I'm not going to give up on myself.
Yeah, I think you hit it spot on. The biggest thing that's kept me strong throughout this whole process is that word trust. I had to really, really figure out what that meant for me, trusting my abilities, trusting those around me, and then ensuring that those around me could trust me. I think it's all intertwined together. And having that at the forefront of everything was just key, vital. I know I'm more than capable of my abilities. It was just about the development within the program and culture, and really molding with the rest of the team, not only for the greatest benefit for myself, but for the team. I know they're going to put me in a position to help the team. I wasn't out there to just showcase my abilities. We win games at Minnesota by playing collectively, and I think that was the biggest thing that I had to learn. Coming from a smaller school, all those guys, they want to showcase what they got. And you kind of have to change mindsets when coming to a larger program. So, just sticking to my morals, sticking to my code, trusting the process. Those were the big things. And then, I just waited for my time to pop and help the team win. And you see what happens whenever you trust that process. Everything works out good.
Yeah, man, because for myself, when I left the University of Minnesota, I had the touchdown record, the receiving yards record. I still got the NCAA record. I had a catch in every single game I played in. So it was about consistency for me. But, man, 52 catches, man, that's nothing to shrug off, man, because, I look at my biggest year was 61 catches. And so, then I had a 56 catch year. I had a 44, but 52 is right up there with big numbers. But 2022, you have 57 catches. You had almost 1,000 yards. You had 9 touchdowns. And then in 2023, you dropped to 9 catches, man. How tough was that on you? Because I know what that feels like to have one type of success and then kind of have a fall off. Like, what was your mental going through that process?
My mom was going through a lot. I was tested mentally, spiritually, all of the above. And I really had to go back to my foundation and remind myself of who I am. I didn't get into this game for the fame and glory. I got into this game to challenge myself. I never really grew up with that with that motor, I wasn't bred to play football. I had to go get it out the mud, as people would say. So I had to think back to my earliest days. Everything wasn't handed to me on a platter. I had to go get it, and that was the mentality that I had to go back to. So I was really thankful that it happened the way it did, and things panned out the way it did. But it was certainly a challenge.
Yeah, man, because you stuck by it, man, and it worked out. 52 catches the next year in one of the biggest, best conferences in the country. I mean, we have the national champ in the Big Ten, so clearly the Big Ten is the best conference in college football. When you look at 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns in that bowl game, like what was that? Because I was, we do a post-game show for it. We do a pre-game show for it. But like, man, when I don't know, a lot of people don't get to see how I watch games. Like I watch games, like when I actually do games on TV too, like I have to like make sure I'm not on camera. I have to make sure, like, because I get hyped. Like even at the Vikings games, I have to calm myself down sometimes because I have to remember, like, I'm still the media and I can't react to like a big moment. But man, like seeing you get those 2 touchdowns, man, one, like I know that feeling. Like I've been there. And so I know like how much of that was like get off me, like get it off my chest. Like I knew I could do this moment.
Exactly like you said, right there in Charlotte, where I played most of my ball, down the road from my hometown. So it was, going into it, once we got the news we were playing in Charlotte, it was kind of a full circle moment. And then throughout the preparation, I felt my best. And then leading into the game, it just, how you sit there right before the game starts, everything's quiet, the dust is about to settle, and it just confidence running through my veins. I'm like, man, this is the one. This is the one. They're gonna have to run through me first.
And you celebrated. I'm about to say, when you celebrated though, so I was on Twitter, of course. A lot of people thought you was doing like an old school dab, but you were trying to pay homage to somebody, right?
Indeed. Yep.
And what was that? Because a lot of people didn't know. I mean, I called it out right away, but a lot of people didn't catch it.
Yeah, growing up, the Carolinas, we had Cam Newton. Cam Newton was our Superman. I remember it was one. He had scored a touchdown, and he did the pettiest thing ever. He dabbed, he hit them folks. He did like 5 celebrations in one. And our offensive coordinator, Greg Harbaugh, he was like, "Man, somebody needs to do this." I'm like, "I got you."
It was the pettiest because I remember, I forgot what team. I think they were playing. I know what you're talking about. There was a linebacker got mad at him, and he kind of did it, hit him. Then he hit the folks. Then he did it again. And then the linebacker came over there, kind of like, "Hey man, you need to stop celebrating." And you could hear him on the mic'd up say like, "Well, then stop me then." And he did it again. And oh man, I was like, I don't know why you get so mad just because a dude hit them folks and dabbed on you a couple times. But yeah, man, like Cam Newton. And so. And I want to ask you this question, man, because Cam Newton's been in the media lately. I don't know if you've seen him and Steve Smith. Not a few, just more of Steve Smith is upset that Cam Newton called them losers. And I think he used the wrong wording because Dan Patrick on the Dan Patrick Show, one of our partners on NBC, the Locked On Podcast Network that's on Peacock, NBC app, Dan Patrick Show, he brought up the actual like quote in the audio. We're not going to do that, but the audio went something like this. They asked Cam a question at the Super Bowl. And they said, what was it like? And he was basically talking to Travis Hunter. And Travis Hunter was saying he's going to be a top 5 pick. He's going to change a team. And Cam's like, man, no, I change a team. I'm a quarterback. You can't change a team. And they're just talking trash. But he goes on to say, like, man, imagine this. 2-14 Carolina Panthers. I go into a locker room full of losers. And that's where he went wrong. He should have said it was a losing franchise at that moment. The players were not losers because you had, quote unquote, in my opinion, Hall of Fame Steve Smith. You also had some linebackers. You had running backs that were good. You had DBs that were good. And so a lot of guys in the Carolina, you had Julius Peppers. Guys are taking offense to this. It's like, hey, man, like, whoa, we weren't losers. We had just went to the Super Bowl a couple years before that. We just had a bad year with Jake Delhomme. No. Casey Clausen was a quarterback. And in your mind, though, like, do you see that? Because you grew up in that time, like watching the Carolina Panthers. Like you wouldn't have called them a 2-14 losers, right? Just the team was losing.
Yeah, agreed. It was growing up, the Panthers were kind of a question mark.
Yeah, they still are. Still are.
But there was a young organization. That's all it really was to us. So They had us as a fan base. Carolinas, we're close knit. So they always had our back, but we never questioned them to be losers player wise.
Yeah, because my guy Deshaun Foster, we had him on the show, UCLA head coach, and that was my guy. We came out in the same draft class, and I used to play with the Panthers back then because they didn't have Cam Newton yet. That's whenever I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, Cam." I'm like, "No, this was before Cam Newton." Like Steve Smith, I forgot the other receiver, but Moose Muhammad, and then you had Jake Delhomme, and you had Deshaun Foster, and you could run the ball down people's throats. You could throw the out route to Steve Smith. You could throw it up to Moose Muhammad. So I'm like, man, come on. Like the Panther and the defense was good. Like the defense would get after people. You had Julius Peppers coming off the edge. So I think a lot of people forget that era of Carolina football because then it fell off after the Super Bowl. And then, of course, then they go get Cam Newton. They get back and then they fall off again. So it's all about getting guys back, man. But speaking of the NFL, man, I know you're down there in Florida training. As you're preparing for this NFL draft and you're preparing – What is it that you want, like at your pro day, because you guys are going to be at the University of Minnesota for your pro day. What is it that you want NFL scouts? Because I'll give you, like I've been texting with Reggie Wayne. I've been texting with a couple other NFL receiving coaches, Keenan McCardell, because I'm training some guys in Minnesota, doing some stuff with guys that are heading to the combine or going to do the draft stuff. And so I always like to ask scouts. I ask the Vikings scouting department as well. But I want to hear you tell me first, what when you get to your pro day, what is it that you want scouts to see?
I really want them to see the way I run my routes. I think it's very unique. I believe I put a signature behind each route that I run, and I say that's the biggest thing. And I would also like to answer all the questions that the scout have. Whether that be change of direction, speed, strength. I work on all my deficiencies. So once I come to perform, like that's everything I have. I believe I'll be ready for whatever.
And I'm going to give you a direct text message from Reggie Wayne, Hall of Fame wide receiver. You know he didn't get in. My guy's still a Hall of Famer. And I've been telling a lot of young receivers this, man. This is an NFL coach for the Indianapolis Colts, Hall of Famer, University of Miami, college football Hall of Famer. This is what I want you to leave with this, Elijah. Reggie Wayne as a receivers coach, when he's going out to these things, this is what he wants to see. Does he catch the ball with his hands? At the top of a route, is it clean and is his break point on point? Like if we say get to 10 and break, is he getting to 10? If we say get to 12 and come back, is he getting to 12? If I say give me an 18-yard comeback, is he doing that? So that's the first ball. Deep balls, when they just throw it up, can you locate the ball? Because they're going to do some drills like that. And then bad balls, are you able to adjust to the ball and your body control? I want to see, can he take the ball at the point in which is the highest or most necessary to make the catch? So, and that back shoulder, am I catching it at the best point possible, not allowing the DB? So that's some stuff, man, just for you to think about too. And then honestly, he said overall, man, the film is your Bible. That's going to flip. When we flip the film on, we're going to watch everything you've done. And he said, be able to talk to us about the offense you're in. And he said, here's the key to that. They have no idea about your offense. So just be able to speak your language so that they understand. And then when you tell them what that route is, then they can say like, oh, well, we call it this. Because, you guys might call it gator, or you might call it cowboy, or you might call it this. Be able to speak it. So don't just say, oh, I got a cowboy route here. Be like, yeah, I got a cowboy route here. That's a 7-yard corner. Or I got a sail. That's 18-yard deep out. Whatever you know what I mean? Like, be able to talk football with them, because that's the other part they want to know is, does this guy know it, man? And so, I want to ask you some questions about PJ Fleck because I deal with the guy every week. So I have him on the show. And PJ's a great guy. I've liked him ever since he came, but I know he's not for everybody. He's not. But you had a chance to come here and you chose Minnesota. What is it about PJ Fleck, man, in the program that really drew you in?
For me, it was his loyalty and how much he put into the program that he built. Yeah, and you kind of see what it did for other people. That meant a lot for me. If you do everything right, on the field, off the field, he's going to be right there behind you. And I believe that with the right character and having Coach Fleck in your corner, it's a powerful combination right there. Yeah. He's the man. He's the man in the office, and a lot of people see players as pawns, but when you have a man like Coach Fleck, we're more powerful than pawns. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. He gave us a platform to build, develop, but also have our say so in things.
And you got a chance to, like, you guys have had Rachel Barable in your facility a few times, and she's been on the show as well. Her and I have connected through Fox, through the NFL stuff, through college football stuff, and I love her story. Her and I have talked off camera as well. But she talks about like taking off that vest, taking off that armor, like being vulnerable as a especially a black man, because I know, like, growing up, especially me in the 80s, like, we weren't supposed to cry. Like, we weren't supposed to allow stuff to bother us. We weren't supposed to, and I know Rachel's big on that. Like, everybody has some type of, whether it's a trauma, whether it's a past hurt, whether it's whatever. And some people process it well, and some people just, it's anger. Everything is anger. Like, everything is anger. But she's been able to come in and help you guys out with processing whatever might have happened in your past, being able to be in the moment, but then enjoy the moment and being vulnerable in the moment. What has that been like for Fleck to set that up for you guys, be able to have the additional, not just the football talk, not just the motivational speech, but also like, hey, man, I'm going to help you be a man. So when you meet the right woman, you know how to handle it.
Yeah, he's good. He's good to find all the resources available for us. We kind of see Coach Fleck as the one that's mad, always yelling on the mic. So it's kind of hard to walk in his office and be vulnerable with him. You never know how he's going to respond. So I remember my first year here, he had brought Rachel during our fall camp. That's one of the hardest times during the year. There's a lot of stress and anxiety brewing up inside of you. And that was the first time I saw her. I didn't say anything because I still wanted to get a feel for who she was, what this program's about. But then I got a chance to talk to her again the second go around this past year. And I took that leap of faith and I went to go talk to her. And we had probably the best conversation I've had in my life. She reminded me of my mother if I were to give her a compliment. So that really struck me. And we have other resources within the building too that help build character, build you as a man. That you can take away outside of the program. So it's things like that I would never forget.
And you were a part of one of the best games, even though you guys didn't get the win. The refs cheated. It was the definitely were not offsides on onside kick. But you saw Daniel Jackson live and in living color make that catch. I lost my mind. Like, I rewound that like 5 times because I'm like, we got to talk about this on the post-game show. No matter what happens in this game, this thing should win an ESPY. And so when you saw it live, though, did you even process what happened, or did it take a couple like looks at the jumbotron to figure out what just happened?
I'm gonna be so honest with you. That drive, all of us were like in that mode, just like, we got to get one, we got to go score, Yeah. I want to say we marched all the way down that field. I had caught a short post right before we had called that play, and then we get into that red zone situation. We get the play call. And it's like, whoa, like this is going. I remember looking at Daniel like, go get it. And then we line up, we get out there, we get the look that we want. Max delivered the ball. I had ran a post right in front of his post to clear the space. I turned back to look outside of him, and I see him spinning while trying to catch the ball. No question at all. I knew he caught it. Just knowing Daniel as a person, I knew he caught it. He got up. He didn't look surprised, but he kind of wanted to like confirm that he had scored. I'm like, no question, you got in there, bro. And then the crowd went dead. It was a crazy moment. I'm like, bro, there's no question you got in there.
And then, and we got to talk about the agony of defeat, man. Like, after the onside kick, you guys recover it, but then, of course, the flag. How did you guys process that? Like, could you believe that? Because like, it's so close, and people keep saying it's like breaking a pane of window. If it's a glass, a window gets broken, it's offsides on the kickoff team. But when you guys were in that, man, like how hard was it to really realize, like, man, I can't believe we lost this way?
It was so hard, especially after having the first half that we had. We came out there flat, and then we got the ball rolling in the second half. And after we got the ball rolling, it felt like nothing could stop us. So for that to be what stopped us, it's like, come on now, like it kind of felt like they took it from us,
Right.
But we couldn't do anything but look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, we can't start out a game like that. We can't let the ref decide how the game is dictated. So it was kind of like a twofold
Yeah, man, like it's tough because like I watch all the games. I do the pregame show, I do the post game, and so I'm dialed in every game. Being at home, the home games are definitely I enjoy them, but I'm not gonna lie, I like the road games because I like the TV aspect because I get to see more of the game. Being at the game, sometimes you miss. So and the same with the Vikings. Like I enjoy being at the Viking Stadium. I enjoy doing the pregame and post game, but I love being at home because I can watch and rewind. And I mean, I treat it like I'm coaching where I can stop it and play it. And so for you, when you're thinking about that, because like I know you guys have, because I've been on the road with you guys. I did the Indiana game. I don't know if you were. I don't know if you weren't on the team yet. I don't. Maybe you were. I don't know. I have to look back at that. But I did the Indiana game in the Indiana. Because did you go to Indiana? Have you been to Indiana?
Never played Indiana, no.
Yeah, so that was the year before you committed in. So yeah, so the year before that, I went on the road and did we did the show from Indiana, and I did the pre and post game there, and the radio stuff because Justin Guard couldn't go, which Gardsey, so I had to do his job and my job. But when we were there, like PJ, like what people don't know, it's not just PJ too. There's staff and everybody. It's like a schedule. Like you get a little schedule card. You're like, you got to be here at this time, food's at this time, this place this time, this buses are going to this time. Like, how was that for you getting in that mode of like, man, when we get on, like, do you enjoy the road or do you like home because it's a little less with all the like bus travel, flight, and then all the little stuff, like you can't take a nap, unless it's longer than this time. And if it's less than, like all the sleep stuff, because I was watching the equipment or the strength guy go up and down the aisle, waking guys up like, no, you can't sleep. This ain't one of those flights. You got to get up, watch a movie, read a book. Like, how has that been?
Yeah, for the home games is nice because my first game as a Gopher was at home versus Nebraska. So
Yep.
that was like my first taste of a home game. I think I got everything out of it that I needed. So like home games, you kind of find your routine. You know how the flow is going to go, but with the away games, you never know how it's going to go. I don't travel, so our away games is my travel. So I really do enjoy the away games. I'm the one that's going to stick my head out the window playing, see what's going on. I'm the one who's going to look on DoorDash once we land and see what kind of food spots are around. So I like the away games. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, man. Like it's like I said, I've had some big ones. We got to go to Penn State and we beat them when they were number 2 in the country. Went to Ohio State and beat them when I think they were like number 4 in the country. We've gone to Wisconsin. We've gone to Iowa and beat them. So I definitely enjoy the road games as well, just because it's a different perspective. And you're right, like getting away a little bit sometimes, not have, you don't have to deal with people that know you're still in town, that want to come, stop by and see you beforehand or, distractions. So I definitely understand that. But from my standpoint, I love when you guys are on the road because I can watch the game, rewind it, pause it. I get to see what exactly happened, who missed the block, whatever it might be. And so when you're thinking about, Max Brosmer, you guys, you went from 8th in Cadillac Mannix to Max Brosmer. And we all, I mean, we can see the NFL talent right away. We can see what what the throws he makes. But man, how was that? Like what kind of guy? Because I know Max right away came in and wanted to be a captain and wanted to get close to everybody. But what was it like having Max, for this 1 year?
It was elite. I remember we were preparing for the ball game last year against Bowling Green, and Max was on his visit actually. So he was at practice, and he had a script in hand. He was even like behind everybody going through reads and progressions. He stuck by whether it be Coach Fleck, Coach Kaler, one of those coaches. He's by somebody's side asking questions, and everybody's looking around like, "Who is this nerd? Like, who is this guy?" But I kind of saw how he carried himself as a professional, so I was excited to get to work with him. And as soon as he stepped into the building, he kind of changed the aura of the facility. Coach Fleck put all eyes on him, put him in the front row, and allowed him to have a voice and a say so in the program. And he took it and ran with it. He brought all of his leadership skills to the table. He didn't just lead us, but like he guided us, which is kind of what we had needed with the team without a prominent quarterback. So I'm forever thankful for him. Even during spring break, he took us receivers and a couple tight ends on a trip to his lake house down in really South Carolina. He'll say Georgia, but it's in South Carolina. And we got to spend some time with him and his family and build a bond. So once we built that bond, and the connection on the field, it was wrapped from there.
All right. Well, we'll be back in just a minute. We're gonna come back. We normally have a daily 3, but I'm gonna keep Elijah around for a little bit. And we're gonna come back and do a little what would you rather or this or that. So you guys know that game. We've done it a couple of times, kind of like a hot seat. But we'll do all that and much more after a word from our sponsors. So now we're back with Elijah. Before we get out of here, man, Elijah, normally we do a daily 3. It's like quick questions. We go 3 questions, but I'm gonna give you a little either or, and you got to decide though. So first of all, who is your favorite? Like, who's your number 1 basketball player? If you had to pick the greatest of all time, who are you picking?
I might say Kobe.
Kobe. Okay, so if you had to pick this or that, LeBron or Michael Jordan?
I'm gonna say Brian.
And why is that? Why LeBron?
For me, it's the longevity. A lot of people get
Okay.
to see what he's been able to do over decades, rather than Jordan had his era. LeBron has played against everybody and with everybody, so we've been able to see how he facilitates on a bad team, a good team, and he's kind of been like the leader of every single team. Whereas Jordan has had complementary players, as a lot of
Okay.
people won't agree with, but I'd say LeBron.
But if you had to go to a store and you about to go out, are you picking Jordans or are you picking LeBrons?
That's easy one, Jordan. nobody's going outside and wearing LeBrons.
All right. Cause that's what cause like football cleats, you know what I mean? Cause we know Jordan got football cleats, but you get a choice. Would you take a LeBron football cleat over a Jordan cleat or not even close?
I've been able to put my foot in both LeBron and Jordan cleats. LeBron cleats a little bit too bulky for my play style,
Right.
so I'm all
Okay.
right with it. I'm all right with the Jordans.
Okay. All right. So here's another one. Are you gonna choose a scary movie or a love movie?
Scary movie. I can't. Both a little bit corny to me, but like the love movies, it's like I'm covering my eyes. I don't really want to see that, like.
Even love and basketball?
Love and Basketball that's a good movie. That's a good plot, good storyline.
See, that's what I mean. So would you rather see but you rather see a scary movie over a love story?
Yeah, I would.
Even if you're on a date, like you got a date and you got to pick some for Valentine's Day, because we know Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Like by the time this airs, it's already happened. You got you're going to see a scary movie over like Love Jones or something. And you might not even seen Love Jones. You might be too young for that.
I've seen Love Jones. Don't get it
Okay,
twisted now.
okay.
But see, there's a setting, a time, place. If it's Valentine's Day, you have to go with the love story.
Okay.
But classic date, scary movie. I'll lean towards.
Okay. And I got another one for you. Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes?
See, off the top, Tom Brady.
Okay.
Tom Brady.
And why is that?
Tom Brady, he's not athletically gifted, as a lot of people know.
Yep.
We see what Patrick Mahomes can do with his feet. He can extend plays. He
True.
kind of creates a different offense, which is hard to scheme for a lot of teams. Whereas Tom Brady he would just sit there in that pocket and deliver the ball. So you'd have to stop Tom Brady's arm and that only, and nobody could. Whereas
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is you gotta worry about him scrambling. You gotta worry about him throwing it 80 yards down the field. Tom Brady wasn't the one to throw 80 yards down the field. He's gonna take what he gets, and he was the best at it. So I gotta go.
True. Well, last one before we get out of here. This is one of the most controversial. But I had Chris Carter was on the show, Hall of Fame wide receiver Chris Carter. So I'm asking you this one too: Justin Jefferson or Randy Moss?
See, that's like old school versus new school. But if I'm being honest, I gotta go Moss. Like, he's just legendary. He paved the road for guys like Justin Jefferson.
Exactly. Yeah.